deserves their consent.
We've run out of time, but thank you both very much indeed. Good to have you on. There's a new weapon being used in the fight against council cuts. Families of children with special educational needs are taking their councils to the High Court, arguing that making cuts to the special educational needs budget without proper consultation is unlawful. Parents in Bristol recently won their judicial review. The court will next month hear challenges from Surrey and from London parents. And Newsnight's learned that now others are turning their fire on central government too. Here's our special correspondent, Katie Razzle.
Looking after children with special needs can be challenging, can be complex. You can get extreme behaviours at home.
Go for it.
Zoe has autism. So does Debbie's younger child, Sean.
She goes to an all-girls specialist autistic school. She's doing amazingly there, and she's probably going to achieve independence, which is amazing, considering when she was diagnosed she was thought to be severe and non-verbal. Sean finds the simplest demands overwhelming, so he needs a very, very specialist school that can understand that type of child.
The children's education and transport to and from their specialist schools is funded by Surrey Council. Sean's 12, budding DJ Zoe is 14.
What were your favourite subjects? What are the best things that you like about them?
I'm not sure, to be honest, but I like doing science a lot. We've been learning about lots of atoms in the periodic table. PB is lead, I believe.
Is it? I'm sure you're right. I'll take your word for it.
But Debbie's worried her children's education, which costs the council tens of thousands of pounds a year, is under threat. Surrey Council plans to cut its schools and special educational needs and disabilities budget by £20 million. Like councils up and down the country, its finances are in crisis.
And what do you say to people who say councils have to make cuts?
Yes, I do understand that there are budget restraints, but why should the most vulnerable members of society suffer? You know, mainstream schools are extremely difficult for children with autism. You know, these children have social communication disorders, so to be in a class of 30 is difficult for them. Very, very difficult.
Next month, Debbie's family and 4 others from Surrey whose children have special educational needs are challenging the council's failure to consult parents before it announced the cuts.
I do feel torn, yes, but it's the local authority that have a legal duty to provide for my children.
Thank you ever so much for coming at such short notice.
Debbie's at a meeting of the campaign group fighting Surrey's SEND cuts.
A lot of your children will take transport to school, the support in mainstream or special school support, lots of different areas being potentially cut, and that's the reason why I felt so strongly that we needed to stand up to these cuts.
Alicia and other parents crowdfunded to help pay for the judicial review against Surrey Council, raising the money in less than 2 days. They say services are already stretched.
We had to wait 2 years for him to get speech therapy anyway, even though they said he needed it straight away because he couldn't speak. And then when we did get it, he only got 6 weeks of it, and that's it.
6 weeks?
Just 6 weeks.
Local authorities are legally obliged to ensure children are supported in education if they need it, but it often doesn't happen without a fight.
Can I ask, how many people here have been to tribunal once? And twice? 3 times? 4 times?
Threatened it twice, done it once.
So there's already half of us here who've been 4 times to tribunal.
It's not up to us to be running off to tribunal 4, 5, 6 times, yet to make them conform to their statutory sort of requirements.
Francesca and her family had to battle to get her into a specialist college rather than the mainstream sixth form the council wanted her to attend.
I gathered there'd be a lot of neurotypical people who might not really understand, you know, that I actually do need support and I'm not actually disabled kid you push to the shadows.
So obviously the next step is the 2nd and the 3rd of October. We can hopefully affect change so that if the cuts do come back, they won't be anywhere to the same level of 21 million.
Asking a judge to rule on whether a public body has broken the law isn't new, but using judicial reviews to fight these council cuts is.
I think what is different now is the particular focus on special educational needs and disability. There seems to be a particular wave of cuts at the moment in that area. We already know that local authorities are considering making further significant cuts in the next financial year in this area, and if those cuts aren't made in a lawful way, it may well be that more parents will seek to bring challenges against those decisions.
No ifs, no buts, no SEN cuts.
Bristol parents got the ball rolling. They won a judicial review last month against their city council, which planned £5 million of SEND cuts and hadn't consulted on them. Parents of disabled children in London's Hackney are also heading for the High Court. Dana and her daughter Sade, a fashion student, amongst them.
It's a sleeve, is it?
Yes. It's fabric that I put embroidery and we printed the design onto.
Sade has a muscle weakening condition and acute narcolepsy. It took 10 years of battling to get the extra support her mum argued she needed at her mainstream school.
She would fall asleep up to 30 times a day, and it could be anything between 2 minutes to an hour. It could be when she was eating, or it could be when she was using the toilet. It could be when she was having a bath.
And what would you like the judge to say when your judicial review is heard?
I'd love the judge to say no cuts at all, because not all parents would be able to fight like this. I mean, normally you'd give up at the first hurdle or second hurdle or the third, but it takes a huge amount of effort to keep going.
And now Newsnight has learned of another, perhaps even more significant legal challenge. Parents from around the country are crowdfunding to raise the cash to take central government to court. They say their disabled children's education is being penalised by the cuts the government's made to local authority funding.
My advice is they have a voice, and I believe that they should fight for their child. These cuts are not valid cuts. You know, we can cut in other areas, but not our children, especially the ones that need the help, especially the vulnerable children.
Katie Razzle reporting there. Well, we approached Surrey County Council about the issues raised in that film, and they told us, we're defending this claim, but as ever, our main focus is making sure children get the support that they need. Hackney Council's Director of Education, Annie Gammon, said the council spending nearly £8 million more on provision for children with SEND than we were 5 years ago, with no real increase in funding. This is not sustainable in the long term, but we've called on the government to increase funding to local authorities. Now, tonight we're going to be reviewing exclusively the comment and column pieces that appear inside tomorrow's papers. You know that by now.